Okay, let's do a Q&A here. Waiting for the market outlook that is AI generated and for Mark himself to come out at the end of the video and say goodbye. Uh, I would guess that sometime in the next 24 months, I'll be able to completely AI generate the entire market outlook, including generating ideas for topics that fall outside of the regular screens. Are you concerned if the Fed cuts too soon, they will be giving the administration permission to increase stimulus? Permission? I don't think permission is something the administration looks for. It does what it wants no matter what's going on. It doesn't need permission. It just does it. The Fed raised rates very aggressively over the last couple of years, and in the last couple of years of the Biden administration, deficits just kept going. It didn't slow them down. No, I don't see this as a permission issue at all. It's like giving your children, your teenage children who are smoking pot, permission to smoke pot. They're already doing it. They didn't need your permission. They didn't look for your permission. They don't care about your permission, right? Let's see, or at least relax the resistance to the big beautiful bill. Personally, don't see the Fed cutting until the labor market shows actual weakness in the data. Well, could be. Also think they're waiting to see how inflationary 10% federal sales tax will be as it moves through the system. Considering taking the applied analysis course, primarily financial modeling, when you introduced it, you mentioned having an Excel emphasis. An Excel emphasis? No, it has more of an analysis emphasis. It is heavy on the front end, so you do a lot of the CFA work. The financial modeling part, that's just Excel. You can get anybody to do that. They don't even have to have really much financial knowledge there, as long as they have the instructions on how to do it. So, in no way is this an Excel tutorial, and making it all about Excel and click this, click that, go here, go there, click this, click that, enter. It's not about that at all. It's about how to think about how you want to model each line item. Consider doing an update on the optimal study sequence for level 3. It has not changed. Level 3 has not changed really for about 5 years, so it has not changed. So you can stay with the current sequence. Had a question on AI disinflationary effect on the economy. Seems to me AI disinflationary effect would primarily be present and reflected in developed economies. But you're not giving me any reason why you're making a statement, so I'm just going to say, okay, that's your statement. Do you think that disinflationary effect will also be felt in emerging or frontier markets with below upper middle income population? Well, if there's no demand, there's no inflation. The only time you're going to find inflation in those countries is supply constraints, where you simply just can't get food, or you can't get water, or you can't get gasoline. But I really don't think there's demand-driven inflation in countries with below average income. How would Powell cutting rate next month help with the U.S. with its refinancing? Well, if you cut rates, all money market rates would drop 25%. So anything it issues up to the 1 year would be, I said 25%, 25 basis points. All debt you issue up to the 1 year would go out at 25 basis points less. Fiscal interest expense still depends mostly on the long end of the curve. Wouldn't cutting the Fed funds rate be counterintuitive, since it could potentially add to inflation? Well, this comes in the press conference, right? If they cut rates and in the press conference they say there's so much pressure on us to cut rates, so fine here. Well, then yeah, the market's going to respond very badly on the long end. But if they come out and say there was ample evidence to suggest that we don't need rates this restrictive, we're very restrictive. Plus, we see a massive disinflationary wave coming over the next 12 months with AI. Then you start to get the market to say, yeah, okay, you need to spin a narrative with what you do that gets the market on your side. So, but yeah, just cutting rates and not really addressing much more than, we feel comfortable, we're in a good spot, everything is fine. Then yeah, if he doesn't go far enough. What do you think about cash and carry strategy on Bitcoin? Buying spot, shorting perpetual futures to collect funding. Um, yeah, they're not available everywhere, right? Or shorting dated futures if the premium is, well, there wouldn't be premium in the dated futures because they would there'd be a specific interest rate for those. Average funding rate on Bitcoin perpetuals around 10%. Futures can be margined in underlying coin. Oh yeah, I really have no opinion when it comes to this kind of stuff, other than the Bitcoin MicroStrategy ARB that I'm playing. I really have no inherent interest in this sector at all. So I don't go looking for opportunities in this sector. I think now that the Trump kids are sort of the poster kids for Bitcoin, I don't know that you can get more douchebaggy than that. I don't know that the Bitcoin community is looking at that saying, "Oh yay, the Trumps are involved. This is gonna be great." Now, I think it's actually a negative when they announced that they were going to buy Bitcoin. Trump media, Bitcoin price fell. It's still down today. Would you explain the long Bitcoin short MicroStrategy a bit more? What are your reasons to establish short positions in those? Well, I don't have short positions in those. A long Bitcoin short MicroStrategy. Because Bitcoin you could just buy for the price of Bitcoin, but when you buy MicroStrategy, you're paying 1.6 excuse me, 1.6 times the price of Bitcoin. And if your balance sheet is a financial balance sheet, which MicroStrategy's balance sheet is at this point, then you should trade at a net asset value, because I can replicate the balance sheet. If I got the money to buy the Bitcoin, I can replicate it. There is no company specific intangible that they bring to the Bitcoin that suddenly makes it worth more. It is worth what it is worth. If we talk about, Saylor likes to talk about asset yield. This is basic math. Any company whose shares are trading for more than their book value, if they issue more shares, if they sell their overvalued shares, they will have an asset yield. That is just basic math. There is no magic there. It's math, and the condition for that math to work is you must be selling something that's overvalued. That's all. That's all. Would you suggest, hypothetically, currently studying CFA level 3 first, to first complete the CFA program, then deep dive into AI and finance? No. Studying along, becoming familiar with the AI tools is something you need to do now. I would almost say switch it around. Do AI first, because that's the thing that's going to mess you up. Given the uncertainty in U.S. capital markets, why not consider investing in European stocks? Because I know nothing about Europe. I'm also betting that U.S. interest rates will decrease, but when it comes to capital markets, I'm currently holding cash as I'm still unsure about the right entry point in the U.S. So I started looking at some European stocks. May I ask why you have not? Know nothing about it. And certain rules that you invest in. One rule is if you don't know anything about it, don't touch it, because then you're just gambling. Considering that my approach is primarily an income strategy through selling out the money puts, do you think GM, FCX, Dumont, NE are good entry points? I don't know. I know nothing about you. I know nothing about your risk levels. I know nothing about your age. I know nothing about the amount of... I know nothing about you. So for me to say, yeah, they're good entry points right now, well, I don't know if they're good entry points for you. I can't possibly answer a question like that. You seem impressed by Google's AI tools. Would you consider putting a long position on Google paired with a short on SPY? Why short on SPY? Not really, no. Like a pairs trade? You'd have to tell me why you want a pairs trade. Would I put a position on Google? I am concerned about one thing here. I no longer use Google to search. I use Perplexity. It's a context search tool, and it uses about 7 or 8 different LLMs and reasoning models, and it's free. I can't remember the last time I actually went to Google and did a word search to get URLs that I have to click on to go read, and not knowing what I'm going to find on the other end. And accept cookie here, accept cookie there, accept cookie here, accept cookie there. I'm tired of that. I'm really tired of that. Through the LLMs, I now ask a question, and I get an answer. I did one this morning on the CEO of Anthropic had said that about 50% of entry-level jobs will disappear. Rather than go to Google and search for the article, I actually excuse me, just opened Claude, which is Anthropic's LLM, and I typed in the CEO of Anthropic said this, tell me more. And it gave me a news article that it created itself from 10 different sources. It said sources check 10, and it gave me the summary of all those. I didn't have to read here, read there, read here. It gave me the summary. I can create my own news articles and my own news feed now just by asking. So if I'm not going to search, that advertising is going to go away. Google owns 2 of the largest search engines in the world. It owns Google and it owns YouTube. YouTube is a search engine. I don't have to watch videos on YouTube anymore. In fact, I don't. What I do is I take the link of the video. Let's say it's a 55-minute video, and somebody's talking, I go, oh, that'd be interesting to hear. But most of the time it's not. Out of 55 minutes, 6 minutes are interesting, right? And then they talk about topics that you don't really care about, but you never know what they're going to say and when they're going to say it. So you give the link to Notebook LM and you ask for a summary of the key points of the video. It takes about 2 minutes to scan 55 minutes, and then you get the key points. You can read it, and it gives you the timestamps. And if you want to hear more about it, you click on that timestamp. I can get through 6 hours of YouTube video now in about 25 minutes. Where you get a list of, you're looking at your feed and you're saying, oh, that looks interesting. This looks interesting. I should listen to this. I don't even listen to it anymore. So if I'm not playing the video, I'm not watching the ads. If I'm not using Google, I'm not watching the ads. Ads are their big part of their business. What are they going to replace that with? How fast can they get $20 a month subscriptions which now has a very real cost, significant compute and energy cost to satisfy all the requests that I make? How fast can they ramp up $20 subscriptions to replace what is, I think, a shrinking business, right? So I'm not there yet. I haven't seen the way clear, and God help them if they start putting ads in my AI search. If I ask Gemini for something because I'm paying for it and I start getting ads midway through the output, God help them, because I will leave that very, very fast. Right? They're going to have to either charge me more, find a way to make it profitable, but you start putting ads in that shit, I'm done. Alphabet already trades at 10 to 15% discount to spine forward PE. Yeah, because I think the market is sort of looking at its advertising and saying, look, that's probably going to go as well. You know what else is going to go is all of this SEO optimization, optimize your website for this and for that. I think all of that will probably disappear as well. To that they're pacing ahead with commoditizing their models. It seems like a no-brainer. Their lack of decisiveness in handling LLM search was causing their investor concern, but that is clearly changing. OpenAI is valued at $300 billion despite billions in losses. Google generated the highest cash from operations in the world on a trailing 12-month basis, and the same net income as Apple. Largely tariff-proof too, so it seems like a great hedge to me. Waymo, I believe Waymo will also erode Tesla's FSD value, but Waymo isn't making any money yet. Waymo vehicles are expensive. You're using Jaguars and you're putting about $100,000, $200,000 of equipment on there. Whereas Tesla's trying to make a $30,000 vehicle using different technologies. Um, uh, I don't know that FSD for Tesla has value. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, if it works only under under good conditions but doesn't work under bad conditions, then it doesn't work, right? If I have a math tutor that can add, subtract, divide, multiply, but cannot do anything to the power, then it's not a math tutor, right? Because I'm going to need, at some point, I'm going to need that power term. So you may as well deal with the hard stuff. If you can't do the hard stuff, the easy stuff is meaningless. I've always approached tasks like that saying, look, we can do all of this, but listen, it doesn't matter. There's this hard thing that has to be done. So you have to solve the hard problem first. If you don't solve the hard problem, nothing else matters. Tesla's product has problems at dawn and dusk, in fog in the dark. So I would want to see that Google can find a way around advertising. I don't know that mass adoption of $20 a month subscriptions, and never mind that $200 a month subscriptions, are in the works yet, but it will be. These things will be incredible tutors. So if you have a kid in school, to pay $100 a month to Google to have a tutor, a personal tutor at home to teach your kid, you'll pay it. Most households will pay that $100, and $100 is cheap. $800 over the course of a year, 8 months in school for a personal tutor for your son or daughter. Lots of households will pay for that. Lots will pay for that. That's where the future is in finding these particular niche markets and monetizing each of those separate little niche markets, as opposed to saying $20 for the LLM and you could do everything. You say, this is a specifically designed K through 12 tutor that will adapt to where your son or daughter is at this point. And we have the curriculum. So you got to see a lot more of the monetization of that, of the model, in many different forms. I think to replace the advertising, you're going to lose. You mentioned since starting to build your prompt library. Hi, Mark. Since you mentioned starting to build your prompt library, in your experience, how much is the difference currently between LLMs when you give them the exact same prompt? Big difference. One of the things that I've seen, Manus AI is free, but their output is absolutely incredible. I find their output better than Anthropic's, even using Claude 4, even using Opus. It's better. It rivals Gemini. Gemini's really good at a certain prompts that I've been using. I rank them in this order: Gemini, Manus, OpenAI, and Anthropic usually ends up being at the bottom compared to using the reasoning models, their best reasoning models from all of them. Now, Manus AI does have a paid level, but it only gives you more credits to use. It only allows you to use it more often during the day, but not the better model. If you want their big model, you have to pay 200, it's like 200 and something bucks a month, but they don't let you try it first. So because they don't let you try it first, I really don't know what the step function is from the free to the paid, and I'm not about to pay 200 bucks a month to find out. You know, they should say, listen, if you're paying the 20 bucks a month or the 25 bucks a month or whatever it is, you'll get two searches with our really big model. Well, okay, but no, they don't even let you use it. You just have to go on faith that you're going to pay 10 times more per month for this model that you never get to try. But Manus AI, give that a try. It is wow for what you're getting for free. But no, the exact same prompt with different LLMs don't really work. For example, Anthropic can't take a really long prompt, especially if you're adding a PDF, and it limits out on the PDF. You have to keep shrinking the size of your PDF, but Gemini and OpenAI and Manus can accept it without any complaint. But Anthropic says it's too big. You cut a few more pages. It's too big. Cut a few more pages. It's too big. It's like, okay. You go sit on the bench, and we'll have the real models do it. You go sit over there. Wanted to get a better understanding of how stablecoins would act as support for a T-bill market. Well, the idea behind a stable coin is that it's worth $1. How do you get it to be worth $1? You must back it with $1, but you don't just put a dollar on a shelf. You put a dollar in a T-bill. So you give me $100. I'll give you 100 stable coins. Each coin is worth $1. I'll take the 100 and I'll buy a T-bill. There we go. So at any given time, you can give me your 100 stable coins back and say, I want my $100. I say, okay, here you go. That I have your $100 at all times. So if there's $1 trillion of stable coins floating around the internet out there must be $1 trillion in T-bills that are owned by the issuers of the stable coin, right? Is the idea that stable coins will replace physical cash? No. If so, then physical money that would have otherwise been used would be part of the digital financial system invested in T-bills. Yeah, but no, it doesn't. It's not meant to replace physical cash. It's not meant to replace your debit card. I mean, you go to Costco, $2.95, please. You swipe your card and off you go. What do I need stable coins for that for? I have money. Anywhere I go that accepts a debit card, here you go. That's fine. Even if I go to another country and I swipe my debit card, everything is fine. The bank will just do the currency exchange right then and there. It's fine. I can use my debit card anywhere in the world. I can send money to almost anywhere in the world within about half an hour through the banking system. So in my life, I see no need for a stable coin. I see no need for digital currency. I see no need for it whatsoever. If I were engaged in more illegal activity, then I would see a benefit for it. So it's easy to make the use case for the criminals. But for it to be a general purpose technology that finds its way into everybody's life, it must solve a problem that most people have. And right now, it doesn't. The vast majority of people live, work, eat, breathe, sleep in their own community. If they have a debit card, they have no problem that cannot be solved. So it is a small use case, probably for other countries where getting money into or out of the country might be difficult, but you still need a broker on the other end. You still need some way to transfer that stable coin into US dollars, and that broker is still going to have to be connected to the banking system somewhere. So it's still, I think this whole space is still a wonderful, beautiful solution looking for a problem, right? They didn't start with a problem and come up with a solution. They said, hey, look, we can solve this. And it was in the beginning just a computer science problem. Hey, we can solve this computer science problem of transacting without a trusted third party. In situations where we don't have a trusted third party, we've solved the problem. And then they went and flipped it all saying, oh, you can't trust your trusted third party, so here you go. It's no. You want the trusted third party. This is just a solution to a problem of what if you don't have a trusted third party, but that is not a problem most people have. So I still think it's just nonsense at this point. Elegant solution, but I don't have a problem. Understand when you mentioned disinflation, deflation on the back of AI surge would take 2 to 3 years to kick in, given tech update is very sticky and dependent on their internal budgets. I don't think you need much of a budget for $20 a month. Even if merit is observed in such AI tools, institutions usually have a wait and watch approach to understand the risk playbook. I don't think so. Your largest companies are going to investigate this first. They're already on it. Your mid-sized and small companies will still have fear. Oh, all my data will be shared. I don't want to do it. Let's not do it. They're going to steal my data, and it's the fear that will hold them back. So I think they'll be late to the game. But no, I don't think it's going to take that long. As soon as you start creating unemployment. Now, Anthropic CEO yesterday said this can eliminate 50% of entry-level jobs. Indeed's CEO says that for 66% of white-collar workers, AI can eliminate 50% of what they do. That's 33% of the work being done right now. The job market for recent grads this year is the worst it's ever been in Canada and the US. They're just not getting work. That aligns with Anthropic CEO's statement about entry-level jobs because they get hired out of university. I tend to agree with them. I've been using it to get certain things done. There's one thing that I do. I have to take my videos in the applied level and I have to create PDF documents around them in the sector studies. I need 33 of these things done. When I outsource it, takes about a week and I got to write a check. I did one myself. It took me probably 5 hours, not a week, probably 5 hours. Was better than what I was getting from an outsourced location. And what I saved has paid for all my subscriptions because I only have the $20 to $25 subscriptions for, I think, 1, 2, 3, for 4 of them right now, has completely paid for the whole year in that one thing. So rather than waiting a week to get one and then having to review it myself and upgrade it, I can get it in 7 minutes. I give Gemini my video and I use the deep reasoning model and I say, combined with my video, prepare a document and upgrade it. You know, I mean, I have a longer prompt that tells it exactly what to do, what sections I want, and it gives it to me. And then I go through it and I say, I don't need this, don't need that. Let me fix this, let me fix that. Then I give it back. Once I'm done, I give it back. And I say, fact check everything I've done and recommend changes. And that's it. There's my proofreader. 5 hours, beginning to end. Not a week. And then me. 5 hours beginning to end. Isn't that incredible? So I was paying somebody to do it. Now they don't have that income. If they don't have that income, they can't spend that income. If they can't spend that income, there's aggregate demand. There's a hit to aggregate demand. If you don't give somebody a paycheck, you don't contribute to aggregate demand, right? And if the money is just sitting in the banking system anyways, what does it matter? 2 questions. Expectations on Bank of Canada cuts for the remainder of the year. I don't know. I think they can go ahead and cut. Hudson's Bay has now announced, 9,000 job cuts to be completed by Sunday. The auto sector in Canada is on hold until it figures things out, so there's unemployment happening there. I seem to think that you should be cutting in anticipation of what's to come, not based on data that is already measuring things that have already happened. Interrent being acquired for $13.55. Yep. And that is, if you bought Interrent like 4 years ago, 2020, 2021, from 2019 to 2022, it averaged around $16. So if you were still holding on to it, you're pretty upset. Right? I was collecting it under $10. I think my average cost was like $9 and change. So I was very happy. May 30th dividend 3 cents, currently trading at $13.59. Any reason to hold at all with a late 2025, early 2026 transaction complete? Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, you're going to hold it for what? At this price, $13.55, you're talking about a 2.9% dividend yield. I sold all mine yesterday. What's the point of holding it for that little dividend? I can move into the Canadian bank, take that money, move into Canadian banks like Bank of Nova Scotia, which raised its dividend, and get over a 6% yield on a qualified dividend. Right? Over 6%. So, yeah, why would I hang out there? The reason it's going to trade above its $13.55 price for a while is because it does have a 40-day no-shop provision. Go shop provision, which means we're going to give you $13.55. I know your stock is traded above that price, but times have changed. This is the best you're going to do. We're so confident this is the best you're going to do that you go ahead for the next 40 days, see if you can get a better offer. So this way here, the acquirer doesn't have to bid the shares up privately. to get an offer. They just have to bid at what they think is reasonable and say, go shop. We're not going to get into a bidding war with this unless we have to. So they have 40 days to go shop. So the market will trade it above its price. The nice thing yesterday, I think it was Royal Bank or one of the banks upgraded the apartment REIT sector to outperform. And then Killam got upgraded again today. This is going to be nice. Gonna be nice. Saylor is telling his cult that the at-the-money is not responsible for price coming down. If the price is coming down, it's never us. That's a lie. That's a lie. If the price is coming down, you got to sell shares in the open market. Whenever you're a seller, you're putting selling pressure on it. Now, you can use certain algorithms, and you could say, look, make sure that the price doesn't move outside of these ranges in a day, and so you can participate with volume. You can have volume weighted, you can have time weighted algorithms. So there are ways that you can issue shares that maybe he's got a point saying we didn't push it down $40. But at the same time, you have to say, okay, dude, if you're not pushing it down and you're a seller, which means it's going to have upward limitation on where it can go, then who the hell is pushing it down? I think it's the ARB. I think it's ARB. So Saylor at this point has to make a calculated decision. If he's going to continue to sell overvalued shares, he's competing with the short sellers who are also selling overvalued shares. He's going to have to start issuing shares a lot faster. My guess is that he's technically correct, but wickedly misleading. Oh yes, he is misleading. He is nothing. He is massively misinforming people who listen to him. I think he's smart enough to know that what he's saying is not true. In fact, take any of his presentations, take any slide, and you can fact check it in a few minutes to see that, no, what you're saying is wrong. So he's either lying because he knows it's wrong, or he believes it and he's misinforming. One of the two. Limit sell orders are market orders and will not technically reduce the price in and of themselves. Well, I don't know I don't know exactly how the traders put the shares out there. He seems to be a pro at technically not lying while being misleading. Yep. There's carefully orchestrated scam, and he's probably going to avoid jail. Do you think this is a flaw in the legal system, or should the responsibility be on the investor not to mislead? Well, to say, like, you have to prove that he knowingly misled, but if he never admits in public that he knows what he's talking about, right? I mean, I can say something I truly, truly believe in. Now, I may be misinforming, but I'm not misleading because I don't know better. I don't know any better. I think he does. I think he knows better. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. You made two strong interlinked statements about AI that I fully agree. You said that it is more important now than ever to be in the right tail as soon as possible, and you have to be an expert in your job to do so, outperforming the crowd. Yep. You also said that if universities won't adopt AI as part of learning for student, then there'll be dinosaurs. Yep. I'm struggling to reconcile the two. As a student, if I learn on AI to supplement my work, I'm outsourcing the grunt work. Yeah, but it's grunt work. The very process that builds the base needed for expertise. Well, yes and no. Okay, when I was in university and I had an essay to write, I took one course. It was 20th century history because you have to take a humanities course, and I had to write an essay on the Russian Revolution. You go to the library and you get this book and that book and this book and that book, and there's way too many books. You know you're leaving a lot of information behind. You're just hoping you're getting enough information, right? Well, with the advent of the internet, that search part, which adds no value, by the way, was able to be done faster. With the reasoning tools out there that doesn't just search for keywords, but searches for context, it's even faster, but you must still evaluate the output. So when you said the grunt work, yeah, the grunt work. Searching, clicking on this link, clicking on that link, reading this, reading that, clicking on this, making your notes, all of that stuff doesn't add any value to your critical reasoning skills. walking to the library, going from row to row to row, pulling this book, pulling that book, looking here, looking, doesn't add anything to your reasoning skills. That's just a lot of wasted time. Will some students take the easy way out? Yeah. And we can look at that two ways. You look at it from a social perspective and say, okay, we can't allow that because the student is really just hurting themselves. Or we can look at it from a very Machiavellian way, saying, yeah, let them. I'll do all the right things. You go ahead and just let AI write your essay for you. And let's see where you end up in 5 years versus where if you encourage more people to do that, you clear the field for yourself, right? I see you're mostly using Gemini, Perplexity. Gemini and Manus AI seem to be my two go-to. Perplexity is a search tool, which Perplexity does very well because it picks the model that best matches the query you have. If you had a chance to try Copilot Pro, I do have Copilot. What I like in Word, this is fantastic. Because what I used to do is go to Excel, make my table in Excel, and then bring my table into Word if I'm writing something. I can just use the tab key in Word now. Here's my titles, and then I can go to the next line, and these are the entries under each one, but I'm just using my tab key. It's a crappy way to build a table. Then I can highlight it, and there's this little icon beside what I highlight. I click on it, and it says Build Table. Click Build Table, and it builds this beautiful table right there in front of you, and then you could just delete what you highlighted after. Your table is done. Your table is done. I don't have to go to Excel. I don't have to do anything. The speed at which I can create tables now is incredible. And let's say that I have a bunch of points that I've made and I want to create a particular type of bulleted list. I just highlight it, click on the little Copilot. What do you want to do? And I tell it, right? My Copilot, though, has got a bit of a Spanish accent. So yeah, I have tried Copilot. With Gemini Pro, you get Copilot included. So I have used it in Word, but I haven't used it in Excel yet. Sorry. No, let me back that up. Not with Gemini. With Gemini, you get it in Docs and Sheets. For Microsoft, because I have the subscription to Microsoft, I get Copilot. Sorry about that. I subscribe to Microsoft 365, I get Copilot. I don't know if I have Copilot Pro or just Copilot, but yeah, it's pretty good. If yes, what do you think about would Copilot Pro be at least at par with Gemini Pro? Gemini is an LLM, a reasoning model. I don't know that Copilot Pro is. I think Copilot just understands what you're doing in your document and helps you do. It's a Copilot. It helps you build your document. I'm not aware that it's a reasoning model. I'm not aware of that. So, all right, that is Discord. Let's move that off the screen. Let's see what we have here. Bro's short position from last 2 weeks are getting cooked. That says nothing about me or my position, but it tells me a lot about you. Tells me that you think that when somebody takes a short position, they just sit there and wait and hope for the best. That's not how shorting works. With shorting, you must be very tactical. With buying, you can buy and hold and go away and hold. If you've done your homework and it's a good company, you can hold. Now with shorting, you must be tactical. So you are doing things every day to your delta exposure. Every single day you're doing things for your delta exposure to try to target a particular exposure or to lower it or increase it depending on what you're doing. So no, I'm not getting cooked. I'm actually doing quite well. I can also tell, not only that you're new at this, because you have a very naive view of how this game is played. If this is the only way you can conceive of playing it, is you're long and you hope, or you're short and you hope, and either the price works for you or works against you, and that's it. You got a lot to learn about how this game is played at a professional level. Secondly, I can tell you've never been on a trading floor, because you do not bring up anybody's positions ever, especially positions that you think are moving against them, because no one in the history of this game has a 100% record. You don't. You never bring that up. That's bad form. If you were ever on a trading floor and you looked at someone and said, that stuff you bought yesterday is really working out, eh? You will get a beatdown, a verbal beatdown on that floor from everyone around you so fast. You never, ever bring up anybody's positions. Ever. Right? So on the first point of thinking that there's nothing you can do than hope, I think you would do well to educate yourself on how professionals actually approach this game. On the second point of saying what you said, you need to grow up. Does AI actually exist, or are we developing strong and fast data analysis with deep filtering capabilities? Well, AI is artificial intelligence. And let's say that we're reading something and we say, well, that's an intelligent statement. Well, how can the statement be intelligent? The creator was intelligent and created output. So we can then say, based on the output that I'm seeing, I imbue the creator with some intelligence. If we think about Bloom's taxonomy, it talks about cognitive domains. The bottom one is remembering, which really isn't much. Anybody can remember something, but remembering doesn't mean you understand, right? And if you can't understand, you can't apply. You may be able to apply, even if your understanding is wrong, you may show great skill at applying. It's just you're applying the wrong logic, right? So remembering, understanding, applying. LLMs are very good here and are pretty good here. I give them an A+ over here. If you're just looking for factual information, they're fantastic. If you're looking for some understanding and application, I'm more around here, right, on them. Intelligence is the ability to move to higher cognitive domains, right? It takes intelligence to go from remembering to understanding. And when you understand something, can you apply it though? You seem to understand, but you have no ability to apply. That's another demonstration of higher level of intelligence. Going from applying is analysis, right? And from analysis, it's evaluation. And from evaluation, you go to actually creating something new knowledge, for example. These are higher cognitive domains. So when I say that people need to get themselves into the right tail and become an expert, that does not mean that they need to know more. That's not what being an expert means. It's part of it, but that's not the big thing about being an expert. The big thing about being an expert is demonstrating how you know what you know, which means you take the stuff you know and you move upwards into the cognitive domain. You say, not only do I know this fact, I understand this fact, I can apply this fact, and given a whole bunch of facts, I can then analyze and evaluate those facts. I can even create new facts. This is the highest cognitive domain. Right now, up here, this is where the LLMs tend to drop down quite a bit. I can't put them in the A's. It's more B-. Some are right out D's. Some are F's altogether. When you get to this domain, the more you push Claude to these higher level domains, it falls to an F very quickly. Same with OpenAI, falls to maybe a D very quickly. But Manus, I am absolutely impressed with this. Manus AI and Gemini do quite well up here. Do quite well at those levels. They do quite well. They're not experts. They do quite well. So if we say that intelligence it can be identified by your output. I look at your output, I say an intelligent person must have done this. If I just give you the output from an LLM and you conclude that, well, the LLMs at the level of analysis and evaluation, those are fairly high cognitive domains. This is intelligent output. Then you must conclude that the producer of that output must also have the intelligence, right? So I think you are developing an artificial type of intelligence. And intelligence can be measured, as I said, with higher levels of output based on cognitive domains. Probably not important, but in ancient China, Most of the time, the dynasty required a last name change to avoid using the same last name as the emperor. I can remember taking the Harvard course on China. It was a 10 certificate course, and that's where I got the information. That's why there are so many Qins in China, QIN and Hans, because of the dynasties. And I believe India had the same thing as well. That's why there's so many Singhs, Singhs, so many Singhs, because it was the head of a particular region or the prince in a particular area or something like that. Fascinating to see your stance on AI, from open-minded but deeply skeptical to as close to a convert as you can get. This really was only, I'd say, the last 3 to 6 months. Previous to that, I had a subscription to OpenAI, and it was like, it's okay. I mean, it's okay. But, it's really off the mark on certain things. Not anymore. Now, I'm not saying just OpenAI, but once you start using a whole bunch of the different models, they all have their different strengths and weaknesses. I've been giving it an honest shot to see, can it replace me? And I got to tell you, wow, some things it can do, I think, okay, that's about as good as I could have done it, and it did it in 6 minutes. It would have taken me 4 or 5 days to do this. It did it in 6 minutes, and it's as good as I would have done it. So my world is shrinking fast. You nail that call on markets giving Trump more permission. And markets are rallying again. Tariffs, my friends, are not over. These things are not over. Previous videos suggested a passive strategy of a 60-40 split in SPY TLT with recurring monthly payments. Given the current state of the market, would you still consider this option? I have a stable job, 6K to start. Well, if you only have 6K, that's exactly what I would recommend. Yep, that's exactly what I would recommend. Fun application of AI. Love audio podcasts. Many times I can't find the right level of detail or the topic of interest. Last Gemini, do a deep dive on a few specific areas that I wanted to cover. Oh yeah, if you do Notebook LM, you could generate your own podcast. Reverse Robinhood, easy definition for you. Put all your money in the roof of the house and build a foundation of sand. Reverse Robinhood. I don't get that. I guess it wasn't an easy definition for me after all, because I don't get that. How long take the bots to show up? Oh yeah, the fake profiles for both Richie and myself on Discord, right? Do you see us becoming dumber as a society? Too reliant on technology? I don't know. How can schools, universities stop students from constantly prompting AI for an answer? Well, why not prompt them for an answer? I don't understand this, right? I don't understand this. Well, prompt them for an answer. I go to Home Depot. I'm looking at three different water pumps. I go, I don't know the difference between this. Well, I could call an Orange Apron over, or I could just take out my phone, take 3 pictures, feed it into a model, say, tell me the difference between these 3. Here's what I want to use it for. Which one is best? Well, I'm really just asking for an answer, right? On some things, you need to do them yourselves because it's something else that you're building. And I like to use the gym analogy here. Let's say I bring you to the gym and I'm going to show you how to bench press. You lay on a bench, right? Here's your bench, and you take a barbell and you're going to bring it down to your chest and back up, down to your chest and back up, down to your chest and back up. And, never once would you ever hear somebody say, when am I ever going to use this in the real world? When am I ever going to be in a situation where I'm on my back on a bench and I got to push a weight up and then let it come down and then push a weight up? When am I ever going to use it? That's not the point. It is something we use to build our muscle. So grade 11, you must write an essay on a particular topic, let's say on a novel. And you think, when am I ever going to need this? Like, what a waste of time. I don't even care about this book. That's not the point. The writing of the essay is not the point. The pushing of the weight up and down and up and down and up and down, that's not the point. The point is it's building your muscle. The writing of the essay is building your critical and reasoning skills. Those are the higher levels, the higher cognitive domains. If you don't push yourself into those higher cognitive domains, well, then AI will replace you very quickly. So I think teachers are not explaining the process well enough. And teachers are saying, your goal is not to write an essay on this novel. Your goal is to develop critical reasoning skills. How are we going to get that done? Oh, I know. We'll use this tool to get it done. It's called the essay. And here's the novel. So you can think of this as the bench. You can think of this as the weight. Right? And that's all you're doing. When you have to write 5, 6 essays in high school, that's all you're doing, is you're doing reps to build a muscle, which is just happens to be in your brain that nobody can see. But I'll tell you, go out 10 years and, you know, somebody in high school who is a gym rat versus somebody who's a bookworm, go out 10 years, I can tell you who's winning that game, right? So do I see us becoming dumber as a society, too reliant on technology? Not really. Not really. Technology is deflationary but requires a ton of material and energy to build and scale up. Isn't that inflationary? Well, the word inflation and deflation doesn't mean that, oh, I saw the price of jam go up today. That's inflation. No, that's just the price of jam going up. Inflation is an increase, a general increase in the price level, right? General increase in the price level, not in the price of any one thing, but in the price level. So you have a basket of goods and services, and you measure that month over month, and you see if the measure of the whole basket of goods and services is going up. So if you have the output being deflationary in a bunch of areas, but oh, you know what? Data center square footage is really expensive, and so are CPUs. That's the price of that. But does it translate into a general increase in the price level? Not really. So we have to move away from thinking, I saw the price of jam go up. That's inflation. No, not unless the price of the general price level is going up everywhere. If it's not, then that's just the price of jam going up. I read peak amount of money is now sitting in money market mutual funds. That's true. And how do we have short-term yields still this high? Well, because that's how it works. The target range is between 4.25 and 4.5. If it falls below 4.25, the Fed says, no, you bring your money to us and we'll give you 4.25. If it goes above 4.5, the Fed says, no, if you need to borrow money, you come to us, we'll lend it to you at 4.5. There's no motivation to pay more than 4.5 and no motivation to invest for less than 4.25 in the money market, right? Still thinking you might miss the devaluation in the USD if deflation thesis. There could be. Wish Trump admin would come up with at least numbers that appear to have some logic behind them. Yeah, no kidding. It's just off the top of the king's head. Canada wanting to be under the Golden Dome. Sort of have to be, I think. Taco hits back. Trump always chickens out. Yeah. Okay, even if they reduced interest rate, wouldn't that be short-term stabilizer for a much bigger problem? The model of trickle-down economics is unsustainable. Okay, that's your statement. I don't know that I'd agree with that. Entropy of this model is clear. Unless someone loses, you cannot win. I don't agree with that statement. And reducing interest rates make big gains for security market, but people who are losing are always the same. I don't know if I agree with that statement either. Hope we accept this and try to make things better for people who have consistently lost them. Oh, some virtue signaling going on here. If your statements are true, the same people who lose are always losing. They've been losing for 17 years. Isn't that kind of on them? You know, at what point do you separate a loss for somebody from society versus, that's their own personal responsibility, right? lower interest rates just reduce the amount of interest that consumers have to pay. And if we go on the basis that the bottom 50% tend to have a larger proportion of their wealth in debt, or a larger proportion of the wealth offset by debt, then it benefits them. And look, you can create opportunities. If somebody just consistently doesn't show up for any of the opportunities, you can't keep changing society again and again and again and dragging society over to them and saying, here. At some point, it's on the person to keep up. If they choose not to, well, there's not much you can do. There are already lots of social safety nets in Western societies. There's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of social mobility. There is nothing in Western societies that says if you're born to this type of family or in this particular area, you cannot proceed. It may be more difficult, but there's no law that keeps you down. So I don't know about this. Let's keep structuring society for the left tail. Let's keep structuring it structure it for the right tail. And if you create wealth, it does trickle down. So I don't know. I think it's liberals who said trickle down economics don't work. I don't know that there's a lot of evidence that suggests otherwise. So I'm not with you on your comment. Cars made some. Oh, this is a story here. Cars made some commutes to work shorter. Also allowed people to live further from their jobs, keeping some long, but also enhancing city dynamism. I don't know where you're going here. I don't think anyone really contemplated this, though. I think what you're saying is that the vehicle did allow the rise of the suburbs, as opposed to living within the city. You can now live in the suburbs. It's true. It did widen geographical patterns of living. Sure. Like other industrial changes, it didn't really change the person or their identity, just what they did and how they did it. Okay. Its convenience is not personally tangible because you are now simply expected to be able to travel further for work, so you do. Heard some argument that AI might do similar thing and just make each of our lives different, but not necessarily better, despite productivity boosts and its deflationary aspect. Technology has made lives better. I mean, if you look at how somebody would live 100 years ago to how they live today, people 100 years ago would look at how people live today and say, "Oh my God, what a great way to live." It has made lives better. Some coders are complaining that their AI tools and the workload expectations with them make their jobs routine and soulless, but very high paced, which is a strange combination to think about. Might just be an inevitable change, a too bad moment, so to speak, adapt or die. I don't know what to make of that statement. AI's most important component is that it does in fact affect the person, not just their workload. If AI is ramping up, what we mentally produce, will we eventually turn into transhumans floating with our legs crossed or break? Okay, this is philosophical. Will children become far more capable of assist their intellectual moves or just be more dependent? I mean, okay, where's the question here? Other than asking existential questions, and I get it. What you're suggesting is that this is a different type of technology. This has existential implications, not just operational implications. I agree. This does have existential implications. AI's growth might be frightening, but maybe being at its metamorphosis is better than whatever comes after. Previous video said you can inflate away the debt as long as you have a balanced budget, but is this a must? If you don't have a balanced budget, if you're running a deficit, you're increasing the debt.
What a film.
Oh, thank you. It's that simple. You're increasing the debt. If you don't have a balanced budget, you are increasing the debt. You can't inflate away something you're increasing. That's it. Do you recommend starting the IA videos before sector videos? Yeah, you can start there. Since U.S. fiscal deficit 7% plus of GDP is unsustainable, U.S. T-bond yields may move up further as deficit expands and interest payments per tax revenue also shoot up Do you see U.S. stock market underperforming or outperforming the bond market in the medium term? Not a clue. In the medium term, not a clue. No idea. The market is far too complex to you can think of scenarios, possible scenarios. Which one is it going to be? Not a clue. Not a clue. All you can do is say, look, I'm going to take this position, and this is my exit strategy on the way up. This is my risk management strategy on the way down. What's going to make it go up? Hopefully what I think makes it go up, but it could go up for other reasons, in which case I will say, I got lucky. I will have risk management in for positions that move against me. Do I expect them to move against me? No, otherwise I wouldn't have taken them, but maybe they will. What is going to cause them to move against me? Don't know, don't care. All I know is that at 15%, I'll begin risk management. At 30%, I begin risk elimination. That's it. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So there's no point in saying this will happen tomorrow, I'm going to position for it. You can have an expectation of what you think is going to happen, but then you have your contingencies. If it doesn't happen, here's what I'm going to do. Not if it doesn't happen for the reasons I think, here's what I'm going to do. If it happens for these reasons, this is what I'll do. If it happens for these reasons, that's the wrong way to do it. I can take a position in something today. In a month, will it be higher? Not a clue. I don't know. Nobody knows. You don't know. Nobody knows. I suspect if we have the same conditions a month from now that we have today, I suspect, but I have no idea what's going to happen overnight. I have no idea what war is going to break out. I have no idea what the Orange King is going to do. I have no idea. But I do know at 15% down, I begin risk management. I do know at 30% down, I begin risk elimination. That's all I can do. What's going to outperform in the medium term? Not a clue. Higher longer term yields suggest attractive returns for long-term bonds. Higher expected inflation may erode their real returns. Yeah. Or you could get deflation, or you can get 2% inflation, or you can get 8% inflation. Who knows? Who knows? We can come up with scenarios all day long. Is it crazy to think that in a risk-off environment, stocks may outperform bonds on an inflation? Sure. Or no. They're both as reasonable. Understand that when you have a complex system, all you can do is come up with scenarios. And you can say, is that scenario plausible? Sure it is. You can come up with 10 plausible scenarios. Which one is it going to be? Not a clue. Nobody knows. So I can't answer questions about the future and about what could possibly happen. All I can say is what you describe a plausible scenario of the future? Yeah. But there are many plausible scenarios of the future. Which one is it going to be? I'll tell you when we get there. I agree with your analogy about the cook helping pouring water out of the sinking boat. However, lowering rates when politicians propose increase the fiscal deficit. Politicians increase the fiscal deficit if rates don't change. They increase the fiscal deficit if rates go down. They increase the fiscal deficit if rates go up. These are not correlated. These are orthogonal factors here. Fiscal policy and monetary policy are not correlated at all. The fiscal does what the fiscal does regardless of what the monetary is doing. So I don't think that we can think that way. High rates have not reined in Washington. Said AI needs fewer experts. I don't think I said that. Eventually, as it will replace workers. For now, not the solvers, but folks or the management are top of the hierarchy in any organization, and to reach there, we have to start from. Okay, you got to give me a sentence with some recognizable grammatical structure. I have no idea what you're saying here. You said AI needs fewer experts. I don't think I said that. Eventually, is the comma after experts or after eventually? You said AI needs fewer experts, comma. Eventually, as it will replace, or you said AI needs fewer experts eventually, comma, as it will replace workers. For now, not the solvers, but expert folks or the management are top. Okay, yeah, I can't make sense of this. which is itself, as you said, going to be replaced even if it is cognitive work. So don't you think there will be permanent hiring freeze for junior workers in the near future? Well, that I understand. Already going on. That's all already happening. Um, yeah. So that's about the only part that I got. If I can give you just a bit of advice here, in your lifetime, I'm sure you will seek to say some very important things. But if nobody understands what you're saying, you won't be listened to. Sentence structure, the ability to communicate with someone else so that the other person understands exactly what you're saying is critically important. If you can't do it, AI will. Okay, so you gotta put some capital letters in there, some periods, some commas. You gotta work on your communication. Much of this doesn't make much sense. Previous Q&A video said holding 20 or 30-year treasuries outright would be more convex play than holding TLT in case long-term rates. So can you explain why? TLT has no convexity on its own. It owns bonds. Everything is a pass-through. Everything flows right through to the performance of price. The fact that you're holding bonds within an ETF structure does not in itself add any extra convexity that doesn't already exist with the bonds. So if you went and held the bonds directly, you're not going to have anything lower. And you can design whatever duration and convexity you want. TLT is what TLT is. You can do better. You can get a higher yield. You can get a higher duration and better convey. You can get anything you want by going right to the bonds. But the fact that you take a couple of bonds, let's say I took a 20 and a 30 year and I wrapped it up in an ETF wrapper, I am not, by doing that, adding any extra convexity that does not already exist in the bonds. So that's it. In Q&A you said we have to get to a high level of expertise as fast as possible. How to even do that? Is it humanly possible? Well, of course it is. Well, I shouldn't say of course it is. When I say get to the right end of the distribution, that distribution is the distribution of intelligence, not knowledge, not a matter of I know a lot of stuff. Yeah, well, I know a lot of people who know a lot of stuff that don't understand what they know. You know, they just keep repeating stuff. Well, you know what Freud said, right? Yeah, but do you? I know what Freud said, and I get that you can repeat what Freud said, but do you understand what that statement even means? So you got lots of people who are filled with cocktail party trivia, you know, but don't understand what they're saying. So getting yourself into the right tail of the distribution means getting yourself to higher cognitive domains, the ability to not only understand and apply, but to analyze and evaluate. There is some thinking that unfortunately you are either born with that gift or you're not. That you have the ability, that your brain has the ability to move to higher cognitive domains, or it does not. And some believe that no, you can train your brain for that. So is it humanly possible? There's a debate. Tell me if I'm wrong. You have worked so many years building your expertise in this field. That took you. Well, I was born smart. I'm not saying that as a brag. I was always an academically sharp student, always. I always learned things very, very quickly. Most things. Some subjects I could never get my head around, like physics, but most things I learned very fast, and mostly on my own. So but I was born that way. I was reading by the time I was three and a half, I think. I was reading well before kindergarten. So it was just, I was, you know, call it a genetic gift. So, to say that I spent many years building my expertise, it didn't take me years to be intelligent. It took years to expand the domain knowledge I have. But what I know and how I know it all the same way. And it's just a matter if I learn something new, I would know it in that deeper way as well, because that's just the way my brain is wired. Yeah. Could the shorter term, it's like 2 years, be drastically lower due to institutionals invest in that during this peaks of uncertainty, waiting on the sidelines whilst earning a bit of a... Sure, or no. Um, I don't have the data to say either way whether that would be right or wrong. But is it a plausible explanation? Sure. Do you see AI replacing doctors? I don't see AI replacing doctors. I see them augmenting doctors, such that remote areas that don't have particular doctors wouldn't be underserved as they are now. How does the Fed effectively manage the Fed funds rate such that it remains within the target? That's a seminar. If you have the applied level in the financials, there's a three-part series on understanding the Fed. And if you can understand the ample reserves regimes or the ample reserve regime that the Fed operates under, you'll see how they get that done. So I'll just skip over that. You've removed advertisements. Oh, well, yeah, there's a couple of comments about advertisements. It's because I used the Lord of the Rings music at the very end, and the copyright owner didn't call it a copyright strike, just said, that's fine, you can use it. I'm just going to monetize your video. And that's why there are ads. I already answered that one. Is AI a job taker or job creator? That's a debate. In the short term, it will be a job destroyer before it becomes a job creator. Will a 20% unemployment rate become the new norm? The CEO of Anthropic says, yeah, 10 to 20% somewhere in the next 2 years. Would monetary policy have less an effect on the labor market? Probably. If AI is truly deflationary, what action could the Fed take, if any at all? Well, not much. Because AI will not stop. I will say this. Whatever AI tool you're using right now is the worst version you'll ever experience, because they'll all only get better from here. I'm already in some aspects thoroughly impressed with what it can do, beyond what I thought would be capable. And they'll only get better. They'll only get better. I'm waiting for GPT-5, which should hit in the coming weeks, just to see what that thing could do. But they will only get better from here. So if you are using them and thinking, holy shit, wow, yeah, that's the worst version you'll ever experience. So what do you do in the face of that when algorithms can take over? In 10 years, I think robots will be more commonplace. They'll be like devices. They'll be like your iPhone. You buy a robot and it'll have an operating system, and you go to the App Store and you can download let's say, the cooking app, so that it can prepare different meals with different recipes. You can download the plumbing app so that it could do home repairs. Maybe you download the pool cleaning app. If the app costs $199 to download the pool cleaning app, I spend $2,000 a year in just weekly visits. It's $80 every week to come and check your chemicals, clean your pool, do the vacuuming, all that kind of stuff. Well, if you pay $2,000 a year, wouldn't you pay $200 for the pool cleaning app? How much would you pay for the lawn mowing app? How much would you pay for the plumbing app? Based on what the alternative is. I do believe that give it 10 years and you'll have these robots that can do some rudimentary things. I don't know if they'll ever be as good as humans at certain things, but they'll only get better. That's the scary thing. Is it's not as if you get to some point saying that's about it. This is the most horsepower we can squeeze out of a 8-cylinder engine that's naturally aspirated. This is the peak of what it can do. We've hit the limit of physics. I don't think there is a limit here. It will only get better. And once you get to the point where the algorithm can then train itself to get better at things and learn from its own actions and teach itself how to be better, think of the speed at which it could become better. It's a wondrous. Oh, there's my orders. It's a wondrous and terrifying world we're heading into. Why suddenly so many ads again? I already answered that. AI will replace. If Fed cut, long end will go up. as it will seem Fed is not serious. They got to manage that in the press conference, right? You can buy Tether. Oh, skip on that. What do you think about selling puts on Kraft Heinz? I don't know. What do you think about it? Right? What I think is meaningless because I don't have your time horizon. I don't have your financial situation. I don't have your risk tolerance. I don't have your life. I don't know. What do you think about it? Right? All right. That's it.